You're watching MMA Oddsbreaker. I'm Frank Trigg. That is Fast Eddy Ellis getting ready to fight Jim Wallhead here in BAMMA 13 this next week, Saturday. I'm actually the commentator for that fight, so I'll be there yelling about you, at least on TV, ringside. When I was told that you were fighting Jim, Jim was actually my last fight 2 years ago. He beat me in a split decision. I believe I got homered. Obviously, when I talked to Jim, he believed he won. You know, it's that traditional athletic game. You never lose, even when you lose. I looked at your record, excuse me, and I found out that you haven't fought since you beat JT Taylor back in December of 2011.
Yeah.
What's been going on? What have you been doing?
Well, I did stunt on the Ultimate Fighter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and had a couple of fights. They don't call fights, so I had some activity in the last couple of years. 1-1, I guess, is that how that would go. But I kind of wanted the Ultimate Fighter stuff to fade away. I don't look at myself as Eddie Ellis, the Ultimate Fighter, at all by any means. I went on that show to get on the UFC, and the only avenue I could see at the time was doing that. So I'd rather it fade away and then me start over and take over my career the way it was.
A lot of guys that were in the same position as you, they've been trying to ride that dream, even though they're not on the Ultimate Fighter anymore, or even if it ended badly for them. You know, we all remember Andy Wang with BJ Penn being his coach and BJ trying to get rid of him. And BJ and Andy both are friends of mine. And that was not at all what – there's more to it than what we saw on TV. How come you didn't want to try to ride that wave anyway and make a couple of dollars just by being that guy that was on TV that everybody kind of was familiar with?
I think that wave has ended for the Ultimate Fighter guys. I mean, good or bad, it's not something that I in the last few seasons or even the past half the Ultimate Fighter's career life. I don't look at any of those guys as being really potential athletes for this game. Really, I just don't. I have a bad persona of it. I don't look at it as a real help me thing.
You know, I felt that way back in season 4, the comeback season, and I declined to go on it. And then Matt Serra ended up winning it and beating GSP and became the champ, and we know his story. And I kind of thought it was that same kind of mentality was happening already. It was not really a good set of what MMA really is from an athletic standpoint. Now they have this new show on with the girls and the guys in the same house. Have you watched any of it at all?
Yeah, I saw the first one. It's just the fights to get on the house. I mean,
Those
35 pounders.
those fights were good. The fights getting in
Yeah.
the house, they were good. The girls were competitive. The guys were competitive. It was the same. And please don't take this the wrong way. There's the same sloppy technique that we're used to seeing of people trying to get into the house. It's the same kind of the guy with the bigger heart, the girl with the bigger heart, the one that kind of has a better had a better 6 weeks of training before they showed up on the show, kind of win to get in the house. And that's kind of how it went.
Absolutely.
Do you see this show being any differently, other than men and women being in the house together? Do you see anything else being different than we have seen the last, whatever, 13 seasons, 14 seasons?
Kind of. I think that the talent pool of MMA in general has gone both ways, better and worse. And so now you're seeing people that are on the Ultimate Fighter that are actually, that's the level of competition now. Getting into the UFC, if you ask me, that's just the level it is because there's so many newbies out there that are jumping on the sport, doing it for the, I don't know, the glory of it or whatever. And then you're seeing that kind of fight. That's how I think the entirety of the MMA is kind of being now.
So, as being a guy that's been around for a while, you're 18 and 15. You've been fighting forever up there, and you're still training up there at United Training Center in Yelm. And do you see the sport? The sport has changed dramatically since we both started. What do you see negative that's changed in the sport that you wish would have went a different direction as a whole?
Gosh, well, the negativity is how everyone's doing it for the spotlight, the glory, and not the well. Josh Barnett said it recently. The guys that fought back when they did it for blood and honor. There wasn't a lot of money involved. There wasn't a lot of movie deals involved. Now those guys are all doing it for that reason. They're getting in the spotlight in 2 years. And I'm like, man, when I started and I was 2 years in, I didn't really know much about MMA. And that's what you're seeing. These guys are fighting at the high level, not knowing much about MMA. Going after a little hard.
Do you see a lot of these bigger name champs? If it was like, okay, well, let's take Josh Barnett for example. If it was 10 years ago, and the champs now at the weight class, how do you think he would have done with them 10 years ago with the knowledge base that he had versus how they are now, how they are today?
Well, I give credit to Josh's background. He coming from Matt Hume and AMC Kirkland, they were above and beyond a lot of athletes, and we just kind of got shadowed here in the Northwest. There's been a lot of great guys coming out of this place for a long time, but no one really ever made that big. I don't know if they were just not in the spotlight enough or whatever reason, but I think he would have done excellent.
He did very well over in Japan, where they had a lot of media and a lot of coverage for guys like that, and so he did very well in a smaller island that he shouldn't have done well in. because the grab wasn't here yet, and now he's finally getting the grab here, and people are going to realize how good Josh Barnett really is, and how good he's going to be for the heavyweight division, and how good, all intents and purposes, how good guys like Matt Hume and how good Matt Hume's students are, from that old school cycle. Mm-hmm. Let's move on and talk about Jim Wallhead for a second. You fought a lot of guys. Jim's 24-7. Like I said before, you're 18-5. What's different about Jim than anybody else that you've competed against?
Well, I think this is one of my first times I've ever fought somebody that's we're fairly equal in length and weight and height, age. My record may look one way online, but I have a lot of fights that are unwritten, legitimate fights that just weren't publicized back then. So I feel my record's a bit better than it shows. Plus, I've been fighting pro since I was like 16 or something like that, and I don't know how fair that is to equal out my record, but I think it's exciting. Usually I have an advantage in one way or another, whether the guy's bigger or smaller. You always find your spot and your niche. Two guys are pretty equal. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great challenge for me.
Do you want this to be more of a back-and-forth battle, kind of a grind? I mean, obviously you want to get a quick knockout, a quick submission. Take that out of the game. Is this going to be more of a back-and-forth battle until the one guy finally establishes dominance to take it over? Is it going to be more of a stand-up war? Is it going to be more of a ground game war? Is it going to be more of a pick-a-guy-apart war? Like, how do you see this fight breaking out?
I feel that if I wanted to, I could go out and have a glory fist fight with Jim Wallhead, and I think he would love that. I think. On the contrary, I think I'm going to try and preserve myself a little bit, and I don't take punishment to the eyes very well. I cut open rather easily. I think people have seen that. So I want to kind of grind this kid down and not let him have a lot of space. So.
What do you think Jim's going to try to do to try to counter that? Do you think he's just going to run away from him as much as possible? Or is he going to try and attack, re-attack, and stay inside? He has a nickname named Judo. You think the assumption is he's going to try to throw you to the ground, but it's not necessarily true. Yeah,
from what I've seen, he'll use his judo if necessary, but at the same time, I feel like he looks a lot more sparky on his feet when people give him room and let him have get him. If he gets his motivation and moving forward, then I think he do real with domination. But when people put pressure on him and don't let him get his groove, I see him just kind of carrying the fight, just kind of keeping his pace and not really ever. He doesn't get to break away and do what he wants when people put pressure on him.
Who's going to come with you to corner you when you come over to England?
I have a Muay Thai coach, Marty Robertson. We've been working together for 3 or 4 years now and have a good relationship.
When do you leave to go over?
Wednesday morning.
So you land Thursday morning. You make weight Friday morning, fight Saturday night, and come home Sunday.
Absolutely.
This is how old school was done. Now a lot of the guys in the bigger shows, they leave 4 or 5 days before, what have you. But that's the way we used to do it back in the day, and I kind of like that schedule better. There's no time to acclimate. You don't have to worry about sleep patterns.
Exactly.
You show up, you train, you make weight, you fight, you go home. It's very simple.
And I feel like shit when I get home.
Do you like that schedule better than going over to England, which is 8 hours ahead of us, going over there a week beforehand to get it acclimated?
Yeah, because usually that week that I'm getting acclimated, I feel like hell the whole time. I'm just trying to catch up, and I feel like hitting the ground running. I don't even notice it until I'm gone again.
What's your weight like right now? Is it going to be hard cutting weight when you get off the plane?
No, I walk around low 80, and once I implement my cut, I'll wake up at 78 probably on the day of the cut.
And then how long will it take you to cut those last 8 pounds?
I usually get up in the morning, hit it light, just see how many I can get off real easy. Have a little bit of a food, a little fuel up, and then gauge my weight from there after the morning.
Eddie, thanks for coming on MMA Oddsbreaker. I actually get to see this one live. I get to call it live, so I'm pretty excited about this one.
Yours and Jude fight. I was wondering about that.
This is going to be a huge deal. For me, it's a big deal watching you and Jim as the main event get off and get this fight going. So I'm really impressed. I can't wait to actually call your fight live. I've been a fan of yours for a while, years ago, just because of coming up from the Northwest. I realized there were so many good athletes up there, so I started paying attention to what was coming out of there. Obviously, Dennis Hallman's and the Ivan Salaveras and all those guys. So this fight for me is going to be an interesting fight. I really enjoy watching this fight, and I can't wait to see how it works out.
Great. Well, I hope to come hard for the U.S.
That's what I want to hear, because I'm going to be pitching for it too. All right, Eddie, we'll talk to you soon, bud.
Thank you.